Welcome to the BXG podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet at the nexus of the universe and are melded as seamlessly as two things are melded seamlessly. I am one of your hosts, Brendan, alongside my co-hosts,
parking garages and Seinfeld references.
There you go. Alongside my co-host, Killer Kowalski's nephew, Greg Filson. How are you tonight, Greg?
What do you do with all that fat? I'm doing okay. A little bit of rush, but I'm glad we were able to fit this in, and because this is gonna be a great episode. I'm excited. A lot of fun topics, a lot of positivity coming my way. I'm gonna tell you that much. A lot of positivity.
Oh yeah,
yeah, feeling good.
Any news from the north?
No. It's because I had a real crap week.
Good.
I had a real crap week. My last week at work, and I'm just being positive. That's just my thing. That's the power of positivity.
Wow. I couldn't agree less. Housekeeping. BXG podcast publishes every Friday at 12 p.m. on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and other podcast services worldwide. Official BXG social media accounts on Facebook, facebook.com/BXG podcasts, Instagram at BXG podcasts, at GTFills, at Y2B, Twitter at BXG Podcast, YouTube, BXG Podcast. Just search that, subscribe, ring the bell, enjoy the reviews, some of the other segments we put up there. Here's a fun one. Check us out on Tournament Style. We recorded on Monday with Guillermo and Austin of Tournament Style. It was so much fun. I text a friend of ours afterwards, and I said it was vintage Greg. I mean, he just left it all out on the field. So I think that's coming probably this week on Friday or Saturday. It was a Shark Week themed episode. We tournamented some movies. They don't rank things; they do them in a tournament. So things wind up a little bit differently. So that's fun. But it was fun. It was funny. Very much so. Definitely. Giveaway contest still going strong. Waiting to get some more entrants. Tag us on social media, tag the pod, tag Greg, tag myself. You'll be entered into a drawing for $25 gift card of your choosing. We have a big show tonight. I was feeling under the weather. The plan was to record most of the show on Tuesday and then a little bit tonight, and then I was under the weather and felt like crap, and I asked Greg if we could just punt the whole thing to Thursday. Little did I know so much would happen between now and then, and it's a very large episode. There are no quick hitters. There are 9. It's a 9-pack. It's a whole 9-pack. It's a whole case tonight,
and it's a whole case of tall boys. These aren't just little 12-ounces kids.
No, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. We have a movie review, obviously Loki, Summer of George, Bad Batch. The Emmy nominees were announced. Some crazy game stuff out of nowhere. Just here in the last couple of days got dropped. It's a big one. But number one is going to be Black Widow. Black Widow, baby.
Black Widow. So Black Widow fills in the gap of what Natasha was doing between Captain America Civil War and Infinity War, namely taking down the Red Room, the organization that kidnaps young girls and trains them to be world-class assassins. Reunited with her faux family, comprising of Sister Yelena, Florence Pugh, yes, Alexei, the Red Guardian, David Harbour, and Melania, Rachel Weisz. They aim to take down the corrupt organization run by Dreykov Ray Winston, his army of widows, and the vicious Taskmaster, who has the ability to learn and copy the fighting style of anyone the Taskmaster studies.
So before we get into like the meat and potatoes, just in general with no spoilers, that was the summary didn't really spoil anything. That was everything that was pretty much seen from the trailers. What was your just general feelings on the movie? Spoiler free.
First off, it was the second movie we saw in the theater since everything.
Yeah.
So to have Steve Rogers throw the shield at the beginning in a theater, goosebumps. Literally just like I'm seeing a Marvel movie in the theaters. I was so pumped. I really, really enjoyed it. Because it took like a lot of things that I really enjoy, which are, spy thrillers, so James Bond, Mission Impossible kind of stuff, mixed it in with Marvel. And then I also got Florence Pugh and Scarlett Johansson. So, and the other actors are also very good. But I just, if you follow me on the Instagram, that has been a Florence Pugh stan account for since Little Women came out. So I thought like it was really good action, a good enough plot to kind of keep things, moving. Not, it didn't have to be the best, it wasn't like the craziest plot in the world, but it gave you enough to keep things rolling along. It was 2 hours and 15 minutes. And for me, I thought it kind of just flew by. I had no issue with it. I thought it was a good bridging of the gap between with, a good storyline that I think Scarlett Johansson deserved, because she is one of the more important characters, in the early parts of this Avengers, saga, and we get a full thing from her. And this is the funny thing I'll say about this too, is making it seemed like it was a lot of fun. And it seemed like she was having a really good time, knowing this would be her last movie, presumably. I know things are happening with the Marvel universe that could change that, but this is this was to me a fun movie. It was a nice way to get back into Marvel. I'd hate to come into Marvel after not seeing something in the theaters for so long and to be really heavy, because that would have been a weird way. So for me, I really enjoyed it. Maybe it was just I don't think there was anything that I would take away. I just thought it was a really well done, this kind of movie. This isn't Infinity War. This isn't Endgame. This isn't, it's more reminiscent of the Winter Soldier, not as deep as the Winter Soldier, but it was good for it was great to me actually for what it was. What did you think?
This movie should have happened 5 years ago.
Oh yeah, I don't disagree.
Like it should have, like that's where this movie misses, and it's very unfortunate that they felt the need to fill in the gap after she dies in Endgame. Spoilers for Endgame if you're one of the people that lives under an actual continent. This movie should have happened 5 years ago, and I think it would have been a much bigger deal. I think this was almost like we have to give her something. We'll just give it to her now. But it should have been in the moment. With that being said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought that this was one of the better solo movies, not any kind of team up. Not like the Avengers, obviously, but not even, Civil War's Avengers Light. We've said that many times. Guardians has a boatload of characters, that sort of thing. But I think that this movie was certainly on par with like any of the Iron Man movies. Yeah, I would better than 2 out of 3 Thor movies.
Yep.
Probably stands. The difficulty with saying that it stands with like Spider-Man is that Spider-Man is such a beloved character, like bigger than all of this. You know what I mean? Realistically, he's the main guy for most people. But yes. I felt like this was every bit as good as Far From Home. Maybe not as good as Homecoming. Yeah. I favor Homecoming over Far From Home.
I do too.
But I really enjoyed it. The characters, Yelena, obviously, as we'll get into the spoilers in a second. She's an interesting character. The Red Guardian, Alexei, David Harbour's character, not at all what I was expecting.
Right.
The villain was a little weak. The villains were weak. I will say that's where this particularly. Well, this had potential though, and I'll get to that when we get into the, let's just do it. Okay. Spoilers.
Yeah, let's do it now. Spoilers now. Get ready.
Spoilers for Black Widow. Skip if you're listening, check the timestamp, skip to the next section, which will be Loki. The Taskmaster, they said one of the lines was he studied all your friends. So he can fight, and they kind of showed that off. He has the shield, he's flinging it around like Captain America. He has the claws like T'Challa. He does the dagger drop thing like Bucky. I feel like they could have played with that more, and I think that would have made that a more interesting character. The villain was like this is probably between him and, or I'm sorry, well, the Taskmaster is actually the daughter of Dreykov.
Right.
So that was a change from the comics because in the comics, the Taskmaster is male. Between the Taskmaster and Dreykov in general, the villains in this movie were maybe the worst. Dark Elves, probably at the bottom of that list. This was almost like a very generic version of Sam Rockwell and Mickey Rourke, Iron Man 2. Really not great bad guys. Really not great bad guys. But the unfortunate part was, whereas in many cases, the hero is fighting an evil version of themselves. We've covered that at length. This was her fighting an evil version of literally all of the Avengers at that point. Like, they could have done so much with that, and they just kind of didn't. So that was kind of disappointing. Because they build it up, especially in the trailers. They really built that character up as being like the ultimate badass, and then it just kind of wasn't. David Harbour's character was hilarious.
Yes.
I was expecting a little bit of that. They kind of played it with it in the trailers a little bit to show you some of the stuff, but like this whole thing, like he was like a contemporary of Captain America, which is obviously bullshit because Cap was on ice. And just like how much of an actual kind of piece of shit he was. Like, I wasn't necessarily expecting that. They led you to believe in the trailer that they were an actual family. And then you find out that it was all like a front from the jump. They're living in Ohio. They shot all of their holiday pictures in one day together and everything to make a bullshit family photo album. Like, that's pretty crazy. And that's where, like, as I'm watching it, I'm thinking to myself, I know Greg's going to love this because of the spy type aspects of it.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing about this movie that I appreciated was like that whole storyline where they were taken away as young girls and put into this life was incredibly sad. I thought that this was one of the most emotional movies in the MCU from that standpoint, because that's a really heavy topic. You know, I know sex trafficking and human trafficking is a very, very big topic in the world right now. So for them to sort of take that on in a way that, you know, gives empathy to those victims, and at the same time being able to seamlessly kind of fold that into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I thought they did a really good and tasteful job with that. You know how they say like a lot of them don't survive, 1 in 5 survive, something like that. And it is a very like messed up thing that happens in the world, and I thought that they handled it with care. They didn't make light of it.
Yeah.
But it was, especially with the relationship between Natasha and Yelena, incredibly sad. And I thought that was the part of the movie that I felt was the most moving, were those sections where they were kind of talking about that, whereas the action was kind of by the numbers and the villain kind of sucked. So that's my sort of spoiler review of the movie. Overall, I liked it. It's just that there was maybe a little bit more potential. And like I said, this definitely should have happened 5 years ago.
And on that end of like, it should have happened 5 years ago. And maybe where I don't disagree on that end, because yes, Scarlett Johansson deserved this movie, but let's say it does kind of happen in that, and we're in between movies, and it, of course it's going to make, a gazillion dollars as a Marvel movie, but I think it just kind of gets forgotten at that time. Because there'll be all the big movies around it, and it'll happen. It'll make a lot of money because, Marvel movies are, they just make money. It doesn't really matter. So it's like, for the fact that this was the first one to come out in theaters during this time is like maybe gave it a little bit of thing, because now it's like, it's everywhere. Like all the sites that I read about stuff like this, it's the first topic, the day it comes out. And, is it the first topic? Probably the first topic, 5 years ago. But then the thing will always be like, well, we're married to the very last movie just came out 2 months ago and things like this. So I agree with you in the actual theory is, yes, it should have came out 5 years ago, but maybe because it didn't, and it would have come out, last May if things didn't hit the fan.
Right.
It was almost like perfect timing in a way, in the way that it was just like, oh, so now like Scarlett Johansson gets her full due of this. And it's not just, we're not waiting for the next Avengers or anything like that. We're getting here is we're getting Natasha, we're getting your storyline. she dies, and then we get Florence Pugh Yelena kind of avenging her death. That's what we find out, and it happens to be Bucky that
Hawkeye.
She's going to go after. Or I'm sorry, but Hawkeye. That was some slip of the tongue. Yeah,
and
Hawkeye.
This was supposed to be in the end credits. We see her visiting the grave of Natasha, and she's approached by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who made her debut, who should have made her debut in this, but actually made her debut in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Approaches her, and it seems like that she's now sort of assembling this sort of like offshoot generic Avengers, where now she's pulling in like, Black Widow too. Because here's the thing, in the comics, when you have multiple versions of a hero taking up the different mantles, they'll literally call them like Black Widow 2, Falcon 3, whatever, like it's a movie or such. But she's bringing in US Agent, who's just a generic Captain America. She's bringing in Black Widow too. She's probably going to be recruiting some other folks along that lines. And we may see some sort of, because that's a team in the comics. I'm not sure off the grip. I know I looked at it at one point and I just failed to write it down.
Is it I know she came, I'm looking this up just to clarify. So she was in Inhumans 1999. That's when Yelena makes her first appearance. Yeah. I'm trying to find the actual.
It's not the team's not Inhuman. It's not Inhuman.
No. That's just when she made her.
It might be Young Avengers. That actually plays into something in the next topic.
AIM, Russian Federation, Shield, Vanguard. Vanguard is the one, I think. Yeah, that team.
Right, but that's the thing, is the other aspect of that is we're getting Kate Bishop confirmed, Haley Steinfeld in the Hawkeye series, which is another one of those Young Avenger team members and such. So they could be beginning to form that. There's certainly going to be another team movie, what I mean? There's going to be another team up, so it's not but yeah, I mean that's kind of where I lay with everything with Black Widow. I just wish it would have fallen in the correct place in the timeline. I get what you're saying, that it probably helped it to be, as everything shook out, it probably helped it a little bit. But at this point, I really feel like after Civil War, everybody hangs on everything Marvel does. And we're going to talk about that in the next topic. That I don't think it would have necessarily mattered if they just.
I don't necessarily. It's one of those things where I don't think it hurt it as much as like a lot of other things can hurt things. We still get what everybody kind of deserved in the end, is Scarlett gets her own movie.
Yeah. I mean, it probably would have, if they would have done it like at the correct timeline, it would have preceded Doctor Strange. Yeah. Or somewhere in there. It would have been fine. It would have been fine. But
we'll move on to more Marvel.
We will move on to more Marvel. Loki season finale. For All Time Always, the name of the 6th episode, Loki and Sylvie make their way past the sinister Miss Minutes to the chamber of He Who Remains, played by Jonathan Majors. He Who Remains explains he's the last surviving variant of a multiversal war, and the TVA exists to prune the sacred timeline so that the more sinister variants of himself and others remain at bay, and chaos falls to order accordingly. He offers the pair 2 versions of the end of time. The first is that they kill him, cracking open the multiverse and starting a new multiversal war in which the evil variants of He Who Remains are unleashed, and the timeline plays out in the same way in which he wins the war and remains at the end of time. Option number 2 is he allows them to replace him and rule over the TVA after Loki, who wants to think about it for a minute, and Sylvie battle. She sends Loki back to the TVA and plunges her sword into the heart of He Who Remains, who remarks ominously, "See you soon." Loki, seeing the timeline uncontrollably branch, rushes to Mobius and Hunter B-15, who have no idea who he is, suggesting he is in a different universe altogether. The end credits confirm that Loki will return in season 2. So I think we kind of take this one at a time. What did you think of the episode before we get into the season at large and kind of how this moves things forward?
So, I mean, for an episode that didn't have a lot, didn't really have action. I really enjoyed the acting, and I hate, like, even with Marvel, you're not going to say that too often. I really enjoyed the scene, and Jonathan Majors crushes this. Like, he's literally chewing an apple while he's also chewing on the scenery. I mean, he is like, to do this character who is like, a absolute destroyer of things, and to do this character as like the last guy, presumably in this order of things, and to make this, what's going to happen going forward, which we know is going to be crazy and is now confirmed because there's going to be Kang the Conquerors all over the place. Yeah. I thought that was like a really cool idea. I thought it was funny the way that, Sylvie and Loki have this battle back and forth because they're the same person. It's like, you can't trust anyone and I can't be trusted. And then they kiss, and she literally just has them kiss so she can trick him, because that's what Lokis do, is they're tricksters. And so for setting up the Marvel universe, and I've seen other people, like, I've read, every review you can that I get my reviews from, and everybody's takeaway of, like, this was like the season finale of something that was like made a ton of sense heading forward to the Marvel universe, because we all know we're getting the multiverse. And I thought it was this episode that was, it went beyond Marvel to me in this way of, like, here are people that are really, like, gonna just tell you a storyline that makes what's happening, the next year or so in the Marvel universe make a ton of sense. And it was just a TV show. Spider-Man makes so much more sense now. The new Spider-Man stuff, we know we're going to get a bunch, probably going to get different Spider-Mans and things like that. So, I thought it was good. Without the action stuff, I like action in these kind of things, but I thought it was a really good movie, or a good television show to bring us back to the movies, because you and I have talked about where we think the movies are a better format than TV for these, when we think the reverse for Star Wars at this point. So, it's not my favorite episode of television, but I thought it was a great way to gateway us into what will be the movies. And that, I hope are handled well, because this is going to be chaos with this kind of, which in the comic books, when Kang the Conqueror shows up, it is nothing but chaos. It is it's nothing less than just absolute insanity.
I am going to have an unpopular opinion, but that's going to be in a few moments. I'm just going to kind of, like I said, look at this episode for what it's worth. Number one, I think that the storytelling problems that are contained within this episode are very evident in this episode. I didn't even mention in our write-up, like the whole thing where Mobius confronts Renslayer. She goes into a time warp. We don't know where she goes, because it just felt like it didn't matter. And I'm getting, like,
that might be a season 2 thing.
Well, it is going to be a season 2 thing. It's certainly going to be a season 2 thing, but there's no, like, it's almost like I guess I just, like, don't care, like, what her character does. She could walk through that time gateway into the jaws of a fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex, and I wouldn't give a shit, because I just don't care about that character, because they never made her interesting. And I felt like they built up that all the emotional stuff with Mobius in the first 3 or 4 episodes, and just didn't cash in on any of it. And so I felt like it's like you bring in Owen Wilson and he's awesome, and then you just, like, leave him on the trash heap for the last couple episodes. With that being said, so I think that that's a problem. But with that being said, Jonathan Majors, they never call him Kang the Conqueror. He refers to himself as a conqueror,
right?
When he's doing, like, one of his monologues, but they never actually refer to him as that. And there's, like, a shroud of me that feels like Marvel's pulling some kind of an okey doke on us. It's just like everything points to, like, he's confirmed for Ant-Man Quantumania, Kang the Conqueror. Like, he's like, that's the character, that's who fits it. But there's, like, a shroud of me that's just like, I don't know if I believe it, because they've just haven't been forthright. But Here's what I really liked about that character. And it requires some assumptions. It requires the assumption that Kang the Conqueror is the next overarching big bad guy, right?
Yeah.
So let's look at that for a second. I think it's perfect, or at least his portrayal in this episode was perfect, in that you go from Thanos, who is this hulking, aggressive, menacing beast, who's like nuts, but at the same way you can kind of empathize with like what his like end goal is, right? It's like, well,
Right.
It kind of makes like what he's after kind of makes sense. It's probably not the best way of going about it, but it kind of makes sense. To go to this guy who isn't really physically intimidating, but he seems completely fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
Like he's just got like there's so many screws loose up top, is a really good juxtaposition for me. So if they continue with that, where he's just kind of like this, like just unhinged, crazy, powerful guy, that's going to be cool moving forward. Or at least it's going to be cool in the sense that it's going to be different.
Right.
Here's where I come to my unpopular opinion, and this kind of goes into the whole wrap up and where we move forward. Is I've seen now post Endgame, Spider-Man Far From Home. I don't count Black Widow, because Black Widow, like we said, should have happened 5 years ago. Spider-Man Far From Home, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki. We've gotten a look at Shang-Chi. We've gotten a look at the Eternals. We know that the rest of the slate. And I think that what I'm about to say is informed by the fact that we are watching through the entire Infinity Saga in order. I think they should have stopped at Endgame. I think that should have been the end. And I know that they're in the business of making money, and these movies make so much money. But do you know what, like, oh, Kang the Conqueror, that seems cool. Like, oh, Shang-Chi, the trailers look really cool. We're going to get more Spider-Man. That's cool. You know what we're not going to get? We're not going to get any more fucking Iron Man. We're not going to get any more Captain America. And the nostalgia, it's maybe the nostalgia piece, but I just don't think that there's anything that they're going to put on screen that's going to be better than those first 20 movies. And so maybe you just ride off into the sunset.
This is so funny because I was watching Thor: The Dark World and
I'm sorry.
the other day, because we're getting through these. And I was like, I need to just watch Endgame instead, because I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I'm watching Endgame, and I'm like, and I said this literally, I'm watching it by myself. I said, as I'm like pretty like on the verge of tears, because I love that movie, just because I'm so happy with that movie and just thinking about everything. And when Steve gets when he gets the hammer, and I said out loud, Brendan, by myself, I wish it ended this. I wish this was it.
Yeah.
You're not wrong with your unpopular opinion. And it has
never going to be that moment again.
It has nothing to do with these things coming up. I'm not even judging it off of this. It's not the fact that I would ever dislike these things. It is literally just like the way that we wrap this up was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah. You're not going to have that connection, especially, it's like with the Black Panther thing going the way it did. It's like, you're not going to have this connection. Like Tom Holland and Chris Hemsworth are your last like real connective tissue.
Ruffalo.
I guess, but I mean, like, you don't have a solo Hulk movie that matters, so it's like, and I think Love and Thunder is probably gonna be awesome. I really do. I really do. Because we know we're getting there, but at the end of the day, it's just, maybe you do that and it still has like some of our connectivity, and it is at the end of the day about making money.
Yeah.
And I get that, but you're right. I don't think it's an unpopular opinion with like people like us that really care about this stuff, and the fact that we just want it to be good all the time.
Well,
and then you start getting in this direction of, will it be good? I don't know.
I think a big reason the popularity of the comics waned after a long time was because they ran out of stories to tell, and just things got crazier and crazier. And that's going to happen with these movies. Yes. You know what I mean? And it's like, you can kind of already start to see it happening. It's like, Or I wonder too if I just maybe am not a big fan of the multiverse thing. I think maybe a better like Galactus would have been a better big bad. Apocalypse would have been a better big bad. You know what I mean? Rather than, okay, we're going to go King Conquer and we're going to go multiverse.
Or Doom.
Well, and we've talked about that.
Yeah.
But this gives me trepidation of how they're going to handle Doom.
Yeah. I mean, everything gives me trepidation about how you handle the Fantastic Four anyhow.
Right.
Because the storylines are there and nobody's been able to do it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like, you know, we're going to continue to get, I feel like at this point, we're going to continue to get more and more obscure characters, like more and more.
We have to. Yeah.
We're getting like Moon Knight, we're getting the Eternals. And then people are going to kind of, it's going to lose steam. This is this is what I feel like is very likely to happen, or at least could happen, is it's going to lose steam. And then the X-Men are going to save it.
Yes. Well, I think that's what they're relying on.
Or because they're playing with multiverse stuff, that, okay, if things go horribly wrong, we can just throw $100 million at RDJ and Chris Evans each, and they'll come back.
Yes. And that's actually what I thought while I was watching this and everything was branching out of control. I said, once again, out loud to myself, oh, so Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans are going to come back at some point in one of these movies.
They may. It's very possible. I mean, they're setting the stage for it to be a possibility.
Yeah.
But I think that it's unfair to the content that we are reviewing to look at it through the lens of something that we think necessarily shouldn't exist. Given that I feel, as I've watched, you know, these three series and you know, the Far From Home movie, it's unfair to say, well, Endgame should have been the last of it, and so I'm just automatically not going to like these things, because I really like WandaVision. I really like Far From Home.
Yeah.
I'm not as high on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm not as high on Loki. I would say probably of the three, Loki's my least favorite, because I just think that it has story, like the last episode and the reveal. This is kind of what we said with WandaVision, and it ended up not being the case, is that if you're existing purely to set other things up, then I have to question the need for your existence. And I'm finding that now in the same vein, because in my rewatch, I'm on Ultron, and that movie's 2.5 hours long, and it could have been 1 hour and 45 minutes long, but they did so much setup for everything else. And so I question the need for something to exist if it's purely to set something else up. Now, granted, this sets up this may set up the next 10 years. You know what I mean?
It definitely sets up the next 10 years. I think it really does, because we can do multiverse for it's the next round of whatever gets us to the new end game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It does.
So, but I just felt like the show Loki started very strongly. And I guess now we're getting into what we thought of the actual season. It started very strongly, and I thought it just got worse every episode from there on out. I thought the first two episodes were great, and then it just got a little bit worse every episode for me.
I thought it started really strongly. It dipped in the middle. I did like the last episode enough. You know, it's the most important of the series. I think that's why I look at it maybe differently, where it's just like, it is consequentially important. Captain and Winter Soldier, or Falcon and Winter Soldier. Well, I guess it's Captain American, whatever.
Yeah, now
technically, Falcon and Winter Soldier set us up to where we knew we were going. So it's really inconsequential. WandaVision was awesome. But you know, we kind of knew we got the end there. And I thought this was really good. You know, this is the show that sets us up, like you said, going forward. So I'm going to rank it on these things as like, it's probably Wanda and Loki tied. And then for my own personal enjoyment, and then the Falcon and the Winter Soldier comes in next. I don't think anything's an A show, you know, an A to F scale. I think I would say B+ for Loki and WandaVision for me, and then probably a C+ for Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I think WandaVision's an A. I do. I think that Loki and Falcon are both C's.
Okay, that's fair.
But piggybacking on this and kind of diving into the multiverse thing is, in the last week here, we got a trailer for What If, the animated series. And this is the crazy part that I've seen kind of kicked around following the Loki finale was, since we're getting multiverse now and it's confirmed, I mean,
Right.
we've all assumed that we're getting multiverse, but now that we're actually kind of seeing it in action, they could actually spin this that this is canon.
Oh, they will. I feel like they will at the end of the day.
Yeah,
it's fun to say what if, but yeah, I think they probably will.
But now they can spin it as it's canon. And just a couple of the what ifs that were found within Chadwick Boseman's final reprisal of T'Challa in an episode where he is kidnapped by the Ravagers and becomes the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy instead of Star-Lord, which is that I'm really looking excited. I'm excited for this series because I think some of these scenarios are going to be fucking bonkers.
Oh yeah.
Vision gets all 6 stones, is one of the what ifs. Peggy Carter takes the serum instead of Steve. Iron Man and Captain America become zombies. That's really weird and creepy. Killmonger saves Iron Man in the deserts, which is also wild to think about, but plausible because of everything. So I think these are going to be super fun. Are there any of those that you're looking forward to maybe more than another?
Peggy as Cap.
Right.
I think that's such a cool device to use. And that when I saw that, well, when you sent me like all the what if came out, and I was like, oh, I didn't see it yet. And I was just like, I really hope it's Peggy, as Cap, which would be really cool. But all these T'Challa, as Guardian, like I think that's such a cool move. I just think all of these are like so genius. And the fact that it's a cartoon, so you can kind of you can get away with a little bit more.
Right. Yeah.
Makes it really helpful. So yeah, I think these are just gonna be a ton of fun. And like, like I just said, I think they'll spin it eventually that these are canon. Because
they're all voiced by their actual actors. I mean, so, Hemsworth and Chad Boseman and all the rest. So
it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be awesome.
I believe that's August 11th.
Yep.
Does that sound right?
That sounds accurate to me. I knew it was August, first part of the month.
Yeah, they're doing all their stuff on Wednesdays now, so 11th. So good stuff there. Can't wait. A little bit over a month out from that.
All right, and we'll move on to topic number 3. The consistent theme throughout this summer, the Summer of George. And we welcome back Tyler McAfoose. Thanks for coming back. Friend of the program. Big friend of the program.
Short notice. We had a guest lined up. He got mandated to stay at his work. We called in a ringer, as we are able to do at a moment's notice for this particular topic.
Appreciate the kind words, boys.
So we're going with The Parking Garage. It's the 23rd episode of the NBC comedy Seinfeld. The episode was the 6th episode of the show's 3rd season, aired on October 30th, 1991. Oh, Hallows Eve. The end was scripted to have the gang drive off together, and the car failing to start at the end of the episode was an accident. Kramer, actor Michael Rogers, continued to crank the car's ignition without success. It was decided the car not starting was a much funnier ending, and it was kept in the episode as something else going wrong. The other actors' natural reactions are visible as the car fails to start. Many compare this episode to the Chinese restaurant because it's just all in one setting. And the episode was written by Larry David and was directed by Tom Sharones and takes place entirely in a parking garage. The episode, The Parking Garage, has received overwhelmingly positive reviews. It ranked number 33 on TV Guide's 1997 list of the 100 greatest TV episodes of all time. So, Ty, really happy you went with this pick, number 1, because I think this might have been the episode where I'm like, yep, Seinfeld, this is for me, because it's just so well done, really good pace. But why did you pick it?
That's a good question. I don't have a good answer for why this one, but looking, the first pick that I had was the Chinese restaurant. I think there's a lot of similarities between this one and the parking garage or the Chinese restaurant, but we're not in Jerry's apartment. We're not at Monk's. We're kind of off campus, so to speak, and just kind of nerding out a little bit, just like the production quality and at 12 years old, you don't know how cool this kind of stuff is, or,
Right.
actually I was 6, but I probably watched it when I was 12. The neat features of how this was put together and how difficult it probably was for them to do, it just came through, and obviously the critical reception of it was amazing as well. So, it's not lost on anybody, including a 10-year-old.
Right. And I think that's maybe one of the things with this episode that I think plays really well, and to go with the Chinese restaurant, is you had this experience as like a 6-year-old. You're with your parents or whatever, and you're like, you go to a big event and you're like, where's our car?
Yeah.
And, and so you like, it's a
Go
very
to Kennywood
relatable-
or Geauga
or
Lake
Cedar
or,
Point or
wherever.
something like that.
Yeah,
Which
you're
had,
like this mass sea of cars, and you're like, where is our car?
And so it's that, and what I like about early episodes of Seinfeld, and I was always kind of upset when this went away, was the Jerry stand up. I actually am a fan of that. I just because this is why the show exists, is that stand up, and so he does that thing where he's like, you're with someone that lost the car when they're doing the walk, and then they turn around, and then he does the whole like, pilots never do that. They don't open up the cockpit and be like, well, there we go. And so I think that's the thing about this and the Chinese restaurant is, and we talk about the early episodes are more relatable than the later episodes. But for me, this was that one, the entire time I'm watching this, like people just ignoring Elaine. She's talking about the goldfish.
Yeah.
So you picked it's funny that you did pick episodes that are compared to each other. And I don't think there's a better or worse one. I think that's one of those kind of things, but yeah, no, this is, and you get the best of everyone too, I think too. So yeah, really great pick. Brenton, what are your takeaways?
So this one's rough for me because it's actually one of my least favorite episodes of the entire series.
Whoa.
Well, that's
which
hard
is
to believe.
surprising, right? But, the thing about a show like this is that even the bad, quote unquote, the bad episodes, are the ones that you don't find as funny, still have funny moments. You know what I mean? You'll never believe this. He's been in a Chinese red prison for the last 14 years.
So good.
And it's just like, how it is relatable in the sense, especially where I can't say that I've ever been lost in a parking lot because of.
I can't carry a pen. I'm afraid I'll puncture my scrotum.
My dad being so specific about having to know these things, and you guys obviously both knew my dad very well. Some things he was extremely specific about, and some things he was not very, didn't matter, right? But this was one of those things. But the thing that I relate to the most in this episode is being somewhere where you have to pee and not being able to pee.
Yeah.
And that feeling of, I joked around last week because I've taken up disc golf this summer, and I go early in the morning on Saturday mornings. I'm usually the only person in the park. And one of the holes, or two of the holes, is like in the Grove City Park, are literally in the middle of the woods. And on the 16th hole, I'm like, man, I gotta fucking piss. And I didn't, but I got home and I told my wife, I'm like, yeah, I just took a leak on a stump. She's like, are you kidding me? You could have gotten arrested for public urination. But that's what it was. And they both get, you don't see it obviously, but off camera, and then they come around with the security officer or everything. So that's like that part of this is the most relatable thing to me, is just needing to go and not being able to go. But I don't know what it is about this episode. Like, for me, from like a not liking it as much standpoint, I think it's Elaine. She just annoys me in this episode. I don't know what it is about it. But like I said, I mean, everybody has their least favorites, and this one just happens to be one of mine.
I mean, I'll piggyback that a bit, but I watched this 3 times today.
Nice.
I watched the inside, whatever you want to call it, with
the notes or whatever.
Yeah, the notes. I watched it with the notes on, then I watched it with the commentary, and I watched it just freelance, whatever, the normal version. But Elaine is not as relatable to me because I can't see myself asking for rides from
Right.
people,
Right.
especially if I was in New York City. I don't think that really translates as well. But like
well, they are in New
Larry,
Jersey, so probably even less likely.
but so Larry David said in one of the interviews they were reaching for material. Like, how the hell are we going to fill 22 minutes of material? And what are they going to do in this parking garage? Like, it was more about I think the physical appearance of what's going on, the physical comedy, like with Kramer, and he's carrying this thing, and he insisted has a real air conditioner inside of the box.
Yeah,
Right.
Um,
Clearly it doesn't, but
no, it does. It literally did.
yeah, it does.
Yeah, it had to have a real air conditioner in it so that it looked real for Michael Richards. And that he actually injured himself slamming the air conditioner into the trunk of the car at the end of the episode. And then Elaine laughed. And then there's like an outtake where he says, I'm actually hurt. That really hurt, Elaine.
Yeah.
And then she like turns around and is laughing and can't, everybody breaks character, and he holds it together. But I mean, it's so priceless, some of the outtakes in this show. But anyway, back to your point. Some of the stuff is a bit hard to keep up with, I guess. Sure. But I don't know. I think that it was relatable enough to me that I really appreciated the problems that they're having.
I think the one really timely, thing that still lasts, which I think this show is one of those shows that, like say things about cell phones or whatever, but you can do that with a lot of things. But the thing with this is there's the Scientology joke.
yeah.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is 1991.
Yes.
And it's like, these jokes weren't made. And it's just so brief.
Yeah.
And it's just, he's like, oh, L. Ron Hubbard. And she's like, get out. And it's just like, holy cow. And then Jerry makes the Scientology joke. Boy, the Scientologists really take things seriously. And it's just like, wow.
I actually, I made a note about that. Michelle is a Scientologist in 1991. And I was like, what?
Yeah, it's a crazy, still works. Like, those jokes are still being played. And it's like, holy cow, were they the first? I mean, they probably weren't, but it feels like it because they came out of nowhere.
I mean, maybe.
It's a 2-second joke, and it's like, wow, holy smokes.
Brenton, you always bring up, this was the first time that we did this. This is the first time we did this, whatever. This is the first Kramer giddy up at the end of the episode. He says, giddy up to get in the car. And here we go.
Well, it's like, it's not even like a whole, because I noticed that it's like really subdued because everybody's so pissed off at him.
Yeah.
So
he's like, well, giddy up. Let's go.
Yeah.
And the looks on their faces, because I knew that information about how the car was supposed to take off. It's so funny to look at them now and scrutinize, and they are all like, this car's supposed to go, but they just went with it. They just went with it. Like, Jerry's Jerry's always the fastest to break, and we make fun of Jerry's acting. I think this is when he's doing his whole spiel about doing George's story but saying it to himself. It's so funny because it's so Jerry not really being good at acting but trying so hard, and I think that's really kind of like a fun moment for me too. But no, this was a fun episode in so many ways for me, but I think the relatability for most of it, I think, is what makes people really enjoy it. I think that's probably why it's 33. It's funny to think about this episode being 33, and I wonder, I don't know how many of the episodes of Seinfeld made the top 100, but for this to be 33 seems pretty accurate to me. I mean, I haven't watched every television show of all time, but I still really like it. I was still cracking up this morning making coffee and doing spit takes. So yeah, I think there's a couple of
other moments. Sorry. Kramer references Killer Kowalski and grabs George by the fat.
Yes.
What do you do with all that fat?
Oh, he's a wrestler. I love how that's Kramer's an idiot, but he just knows so much random trivia about just everything, you know?
Yeah.
That's a fun character trait. Yes, Killer Kowalski. I guess I mean, this is one of those ones when I do any type of rewatch where I almost feel like this is in an earlier season than the third season. It feels like a season one, or because that's what I pulled it out.
Well, season
We're
one
doing
only
the
had like
DVDs,
6 or 8
six
episodes or
episodes,
something.
yeah, six episodes. But I pulled out in the first DVD package is season 1 and season 2, and it always screws me up because on the sides of all mines, I assume they're all the same. It's like volume 8, season 9.
Yeah.
But I pulled out, I'm like, this has to be an episode from the first or second season. And then to like see that it's actually a little bit further down the line. And then that it is so like deeply compared to the Chinese restaurant where it is all, like you said, off campus or, contained in one area, that sort of thing. So there's definitely some cool production value to it. And there are, like I said, there are some funny moments. And when you have a show like this, there's going to be your favorite episodes, and then you're just going to have episodes that you just don't like as much, and for whatever reason, it's one for me. But it's still a good. I mean, it's still funny. There's still funny moments in it for sure.
The Mercedes parked across several lines was kind of neat, like a touch on that, because you see that people think that they're cool. It's like, oh, I got this $100,000 car. Look at me. I need 3 spots so you don't ding my doors. Like, yeah, okay.
I bitch about that regularly.
Yeah. I mean, it just touches on reality pretty nicely, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And George is going to go spit on the car, and then here he comes. Oh yeah, that's what do you get for what do they get for a tune-up on this thing? Pretty nice.
Yeah. And what's funny too about this, and like I noticed it, this episode moves. I mean, it's
very fast paced. Yeah,
it is a quick 22. When it was done, I was like, "We're done now." Like, because I just knew it, and maybe it's because I was scrutinizing it too. So maybe that's faster when I'm thinking about everything. But yeah, this episode, there is no breaking moment. It's boom, boom, boom. Elaine, Fish dies at the end. That's kind of like the thing where she's so mad, and that's it. That's the episode, and you're like, "Wow, that was beginning to end." 3 hours in a parking lot, 4 hours in a parking lot, and they did this in 22 minutes. So
yeah. I know that this isn't necessarily something that you're going to observe as a casual viewer, but like the set with the numbers, they're different colors, and they had like different like magnetic signs that they would change, and they actually like the pillars that made all of the different structure of the parking lot. None of that was structural. They could just like move it as they wanted to. And the ceiling was like 7'6", so it made it look like ridiculously like the depth and the perception of all of it was.
Did they screw up a cut? I feel like early in the episode, like within the first 5 minutes, they're like, you see them from the front, and it's like Kramer, Jerry, George, Elaine, and then it cuts, and then it's like they're standing in completely different spaces. I looked at it. Yeah, like they maybe did a couple different takes and they just pieced the wrong one in.
I mean, I just watched it 3 times. If I missed it, that's something. But
I felt like I looked at it, I was like, did they just screw that up? It's very early in the episode. I want to say it's within the first 5 minutes, if it even happened. I might have just been my eyes playing tricks on me too.
I missed it if it happened. But anyway.
And what space were they in? And we'll close out on that.
Purple 22?
Nope.
No.
Purple 23 is where the air conditioner was.
Is where the air conditioner was. Yeah.
Oh God.
It's either it depends on how you look at it. It's either green 12 or green 13. But that's where they're parked. And so I either make the itchy and scratchy joke from Seinfeld, or I'll make that joke when we park in a garage. Like if we're outside, we're in the itchy section where it's either itchy or scratchy, and it's like in the parking lot. Or I'll be like, oh, we're at green 12 if we're in a parking garage. It's just like,
well, I have one for you, Greg.
Okay.
So this one's not really fair, but
that's okay.
It's not really.
I don't care.
It's not really a super fair long-term question, but. What's the Superman reference in this episode?
The Superman reference in the episode. Ooh. Man. Since I just watched it once, I want to say it's the color of Jerry's shirt when he's doing stand-up. It's red and blue.
Good guess. So maybe, but the and most of the answers to this is maybe because a lot of them are
Right.
very obscure. But so Jerry is wearing a red sweatshirt and blue jeans, is what my
Oh, okay.
in
And
the
yeah, that's
parking
funny that we
garage.
both went with the clothing, Like, and the stupid thing is that I was like, oh yeah, his stand-up routine. He's wearing a red and blue shirt.
Yeah.
Like, that's dumb. I shouldn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, Ty, thanks for picking this episode. That's a fun breakdown. And yeah, well, if we need you back, we know we can always get you. That's the thing, because it's it's Seinfeld. You and I have watched this more than most people. So thanks again, Ty. We really appreciate you being on and having the time to come on tonight.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Have a good one.
Yep. All right, number 4. Well, first of all, we want to thank Ty for pinch hitting Summer of George. Quick call back for him. We have the ringer whenever we need him. Unfortunately, things fell through with our other guest, Jason, but I'm hoping to get him on. He picked another great episode too. I was looking forward to talking about that one. But life happens. But we move on to number 4, Bad Batch, The Devil's Deal. The Empire continues to fuel the formation of their rebellion. This time on the Twi'lek homeworld of Ryloth, the Empire has come to relieve the warriors of Ryloth of their duties. Twi'lek leader Cham Syndulla does his best to reassure his people, but after his daughter Hera and others are caught smuggling in weapons they are given to them by the Batch, by the way. That was the only episode. That was the only appearance they made in this episode. But they are forced to defend themselves. By the end of the episode, Hera and her droid Chopper escape, while the rest of the Twi'leks are taken into the custody of the Empire. It's worth noting that Chopper and Hera are two of the primary protagonists of Star Wars Rebels. So again, here's another setup for that show. Her along with Ezra Bridger are probably the 2 most popular characters that have come out of that particular show.
Right.
What did you take away from this episode?
I really liked it. I think maybe it's because we didn't have the Bad Batch as like the main storyline, and we got something new. It wasn't just like go get it, do a mission, whatever. So I saw it was like, and I cared. I know it sounds weird, but it's like I really cared about the outcome of like this family and everything on what was going on with them, and then the little scene with Omega and Hera, that was cool. Yeah. She's like, oh, you fly by feeling it. And then when they ask Omega, oh, you found a friend? She's like, no, she's weird. I like her. Yeah. And I thought it was like one of those episodes that, is, it goes beyond being just an episode during the middle of the season. It was, I think it was like a touching episode. I think it was an episode that's going to build, so much more because we only have a few episodes left now. Right. Now we have like a real, 3. So now we have like a real, like actual something's bad's happened. Yeah. And they, the Bad Batch are obviously going to be the people involved to figure this out. But now something is actually at stake that isn't just go fetch me, whatever
fetch
thing.
Quest.
And yeah, exactly. It's not a fetch quest. Now it's like, it is a fetch quest, but actual lives are at stake here and not just like, oh, whatever.
Well, mild spoiler, I guess, for episode 12, the title of the episode is Rescue on Ryloth. So I feel like this is where everything's kind of, because Crosshair's involved. He shoots down one of the ships. He shoots down the ship that she's on. That's how they get captured, Hera. And I feel like this is now going to begin to be kind of the culmination of this season, series, miniseries, whatever, whatever they decide to make this be. But it's getting to the point now where the chips are kind of down and they're going to start to tie up loose ends, basically. So I think that the next few episodes are going to be special. I think that the other thing, and I mentioned this kind of last week with the environments they took us to, this show does a really good job of making me thinking about Star Wars in ways that I haven't necessarily thought about it before, and get kind of excited, kind of curious, kind of like hopeful for where they may take things in the future. And one of them was the scene between Hera and Omega. And what that was was the fact that they've never really explored like what all of these conflicts, whether it be the separatists and the clone army in the prequels, the Empire and the Rebellion in the original trilogy, the First Order and the Resistance and the sequel, Garbage Truck on Fire. They've never really explored what that looks like from the point of view of a child.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a little bit with Anakin, but that's just to introduce him, and he should have been. It doesn't matter. Go listen to our Star Wars episodes, but it got me kind of thinking, like, well, that'd be kind of cool. And like some of the books that I've read have kind of addressed it a little bit, but it'd be interesting to kind of see Star Wars from the point of view of like an adolescent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we're led to believe like Luke and Anakin and are teenagers, Leia. But from like, it's interesting to see, like, because like war gives people trauma, you know what I mean? And it'd be interesting to see them kind of explore that from the point of view of maybe like a 12-year-old or like a, you know, even a 10-year-old, something like that, to just to put a different angle on it. You know what I mean? So it got me thinking about that a little bit, because they've played with that some with Omega, and like the second episode where they met with that family, and you know, she got mixed in with those kids and whatnot. But overall, I thought that the episode was fine, but it also is kind of everybody's pushing their chips into the middle of the table, and we're going to really see where this goes here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think that's why I think I liked it. It's like now we know something's at stake.
Right. Yep.
And it took forever. I don't say it took forever, but it took a while to get to that, which is what happens to A, built for kids. So you got to just throw the action stuff. B, it's, 14 episodes. So,
right. Yeah.
What are you going to do? But we'll move on. And I'll say I'm excited about this just because I feel like it's the BXG Emmy nominations. The Primetime Emmy nominations were announced, and some BXG favorites cleaned up on the noms. Disney Plus recorded a staggering 71 nominations, with WandaVision receiving 23 and the Mandalorian receiving 24 nominations. The Crown tied Mando. The motherfucking Crown, by the way, because that show is good too. It's really good. Tied Mando with for the most 24. Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany were nominated for Best Actress and Best Actor in a Limited Series. Timothy Olyphant and Carl Weathers were nominated for Best Guest, as was Don Cheadle for his sub 2-minute appearance in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Handmaid's Tale and Lovecraft Country were also big nom winners, and our boy TJ Lavin was snubbed again in a reality series host category.
Horseshit.
What does this guy have to fucking do other than be the best?
Maybe he's gonna actually kill a quitter.
Maybe
instead of just be generally disappointed with
he
them.
hates quitters. And hey, it's just, what do you got to do here? What, the guy that quit the Bachelor, was he nominated? Because he's a quitter. He's a fucking quitter because he did something wrong, but still, he's a quitter. TJ doesn't quit.
TJ doesn't quit, and he hates people who do.
Hates people who do.
So we will do obviously predictions for a lot of these big awards whenever the show rolls around in the fall. I'm not 100%
Probably
sure.
September. That sounds right. September.
Yeah, it's exciting to be a fan of these shows that wouldn't typically get nominated, like The Mandalorian, back to back though, 2 years in a row.
Now it's a thing.
That's drama. It's not going to win, but
imagine if it does though.
I swear to you, do something crazy. I don't even know what, but Filoni was nominated for Best Writer for Mandalorian. Favreau was nominated for Best Director. Nerd Jesus. WandaVision. I mean, we both said that we felt like Elizabeth Olsen should be nominated for Best Actress.
She should win.
I believe that she should. I haven't seen a lot of the other things in that category, but her performance in WandaVision is dynamite. I don't know about Paul Bettany. It's cool he got nominated. It's awesome that Timothy Olyphant, because that's the episode that we point to in Mando season 2. It's just like, that episode's so fucking cool.
Yeah, so cool.
Carl Weathers being nominated is amazing. Action Jackson. If freaking Apollo Creed takes home an Emmy, I'm going to be stoked. Even Don Cheadle said that he didn't get it. Like, he's like, I don't understand. He's like, I don't understand. That one was just like, whatever.
Emmys are weird though. It just is like inside baseball is they just send in clips.
Yeah.
So it's not like your full performance in anything. It's just like, here's a 30-second clip.
Well, they got the whole clip for him.
They got the whole clip right there. Boom.
There it was.
Nominated.
Yeah. Excuse me. Falcon and the Winter Soldier had 5 nominations, including the bizarre Don Cheadle nom. Some of these other, Lovecraft Country, Handmaid's Tale. Handmaid's Tale is very good. But other than that, I mean, Pedro Pascal was not nominated for anything.
That's tough.
I'll tell you, do you know who should have gotten nominated for a best guest? Mark Hamill.
Oh, Mark Hamill should have definitely got nominated. Yeah.
He should have been the only nomination.
Yep.
Like,
maybe that's why they didn't. That
wasn't a 30-second clip. Come on now.
Yeah, that's definitely some horse crap.
Yeah. In any case.
But yeah. And we look forward to our reviews our predictions.
Yeah.
On this.
Speaking of TJ, our boy Tej, challenge. Spies, Lies, and Allies will debut on MTV August 11th, the same day as What If. I can't wait.
Put your motherfucking seatbelts on, people.
I can't. There's going to be 34 cast members.
Yeah, it's going to be a shit show.
Stupid.
It's so. I saw people, and I know it was like people I'm not supposed to know, but I was like, holy crap, this is. I know 6 people on this show, so I'm actually excited because it makes hating people so much easier.
There's like,
which is the whole point. I watched this show.
Like 13. No, there's 15 returning players.
Yeah.
There's 19 rookies. I can tell you that there's 3 people from Survivor that I watch religiously. None of them are good.
Good.
So
probably win.
No, they're not even.
Or it'll just be CT because he's in it, and CT. Yeah, he's gonna win.
Yeah, there's a good chance. They'll do whatever they can to get him out like early. We move on to movie news. Black Widow is, of course, a hit. The film grossed $80 million at the domestic box office and another $60 million from Disney Plus premiere buys. When factored in worldwide box office, the film had a tidy opening weekend in which it made $215 million worldwide, which now resets the record for pandemic-era box office.
Yeah.
I saw it in theater. I felt no qualms as far as like safety or anything like that.
Same.
And it was good to be back in the theater.
It's awesome.
Definitely good to be back in the theater. Following the release of Black Widow, David Harbour has told Insider that he is down for more Red Guardian and has 2 pitches ready to go. Would you like to see more of the Crimson Protector?
If they do it the way that it should be done, which is him being funny,
yeah,
and him pretending like he's fighting Captain America, then give me it, because he's good. Everyone likes David Harbour. That's like a consensus 100%.
Yeah.
So if they do the movies they should, then yes, count me in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he has 2 pitches ready to go.
Yeah. One is like a prequel that takes place in like the 80s, and then the other one
cool.
Picks up at the end of Black Widow. I don't think that this will happen, but it's cool to think about. It'd be nice to see like if Florence Pugh gets like her own standalone thing.
She's going to be
moving forward.
Yeah, but she's going to be in the Hawkeye series.
Well, we know she's going to be in the series. I'm just saying if she gets her own either series or movie, it'd be nice for them to bring him back.
Whatever gives us more Florence Pugh.
If you say so. Greta Gerwig.
She's great.
She's fine. I don't think
she's a great
revolutionary.
Actress. She is awesome in everything I've seen her in. I've seen every movie she's been in.
So you've seen 3 movies.
She's been in like 5 movies. Yeah.
Greta Gerwig to write and direct a Barbie film based on the iconic toy. Margot Robbie to star, taking over for other stars who were at one time attached to play the blonde bombshell. Anne Hathaway and Amy Schumer.
If Amy Schumer would have played Barbie, I would have killed myself. That's the dumbest thing. I was like, I mentioned to someone like maybe it was going to be like tongue in cheek. No,
Yeah.
no.
I think Anne
either-
Hathaway's too, like at this point in her career, she's established as like an actual like good actress. So
is Margot Robbie to some degree. I mean, like she does Harley Quinn, but she's also done some movies where she's actually like being an actress. No, Margot Robbie is the person to be Barbie. And,
yeah, I guess.
And Amy Schumer is the exact opposite.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Amy Schumer would be Barbie if Barbie like farted in front of her friends. Margot Robbie noted that in an interview she needs a break from Harley Quinn. Guess what? We need a permanent break.
I was going to say we need a break from Harley Quinn. So thank you.
Yeah.
So the preview for that. Oh my God. Darn.
Yeah. Sequel for Amazon's The Tomorrow War starring Chris Pratt is in development. This is somewhat surprising as the film has been panned critically. Got 3 on IGN.
I didn't see it yet. A buddy of mine saw it. So he's like, if you want to watch something stupid, go ahead.
Yeah.
Because it's fun to make fun of. That's all I got for you.
Yeah. I'm not probably going to check that one out. Angela Bassett noted that the script for Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever has been changed 5 times with a 6th incoming as production has officially begun. The untimely death of Chadwick Boseman had a great deal to do with this, as obviously. But the actress who plays T'Challa's mother states she believes that the film will do a wonderful job of paying tribute to the fallen king. This isn't out of the ordinary for scripts to go under that much of a change, but obviously,
and when your lead actor, isn't there anymore,
that's not just tweaks.
Yeah,
that's not just we're not just tweaking things there. That's pretty much a full rewrite. Red Notice, starring Gal Gadot, Ryan Reynolds, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson, will hit Netflix this November. That'll be fun. We'll do.
Yeah, that'll be a fun movie. Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, for sure. I'll look at Gal Gadot.
The MCU is, according to Kevin Feige, noted the studio is done with massive multi-picture deals. Large deals like one signed by Samuel L. Jackson, 9 films, and Chris Evans will be no more. He noted that these considerations will be cast by cast, film by film decision. They're looking for actors who are excited about the possibilities that may come rather than just being locked into contractual obligations. I think that this is mainly because Chris was just done being Cap. Like he just needs a break from being America's ass. That is America. That is America's ass.
What a great line.
It is America's ass. If you were hoping to see new footage of the Eternals, Aquaman 2, The Batman, or even Spider-Man No Way Home at the Digital Comic-Con at Home event, temper your expectations as it was announced that both Marvel Studios and DC Films are skipping the event. This does not, however, rule out any of the Sony-specific movies such as Venom, Let There Be Carnage, or Morbius. So we got to be getting real close to a Spider-Man trailer.
Yeah.
It's supposed to come out in like 5 months. We haven't seen shit.
Yeah. Give us a Spider-Man trailer. We want it.
In any case, speaking of, another new Spider-Man suit from No Way Home leaked via an action figure. This suit seems to be a mashup of the classic web slinger costume and Doctor Strange's garb, which makes sense as the Sorcerer Supreme will play a large role in the upcoming Tom Holland film. Tom Holland
I saw it.
Tobey Maguire / Andrew Garfield.
/ the guy from the 80s show. That'd be cool if they did that.
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
/ Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker.
Yes.
From Spider-Verse. And my hope for this movie is I feel like
Nick Cage is going to play a major role.
I'm going to come to him in a second.
Okay.
I'm going to come back to Nick Cage in a second.
We all do.
I really hope that this movie introduces Miles.
I think it will.
I know that they're doing all of this multiverse stuff and they're not confirmed, wink, wink, Toby and Garfield to be in it, but okay, whatever. But I really hope that this introduces Miles. That's a character that needs to be in the MCU.
Yes.
That's a character that needs 100%. To be in the MCU. Coming back to Nick Cage, that movie he's in, Pig, is supposed to be amazing.
I've heard it's supposed to be, I heard it's supposed to be good.
I really want to see it for two
Yeah.
reasons. Number one, it's a movie called Pig.
Correct.
Number two, it's a movie called Pig starring Nick Cage.
That's all
So
you
I
need.
need to find a way to watch this movie. I'm gonna watch it. I think it's theaters only, but once it comes to streaming, it's at the top of my list.
All right, we'll move on from all the movie news to gaming news. State of Play was a bit of a wah, wah. New Deathloop footage was shown. Moss Book 2 was announced for PSVR. Death Stranding Director's Cut announced for release September 24th. Other games announced or shown were Tribes of Midgard,
Arcadegeddon.
Arcadian, Hunter's Arena, Legends, Fist, Forged in Shadow Torch, SIFU, Demons. Okay, I didn't know if I was supposed
I might as well. I should have just read this one.
This is a tough one for me.
Yeah,
not gonna lie.
Demon
Slayer, I know. Kami Chronicles, Lost Judgment. I was looking ahead earlier today. I was like, oh, but I give it a try.
Yeah, we had said that we've said we were gonna cut in, and it just wasn't worth cutting in for. So
right,
these games, like the one game, Fist, Forged in Shadow Torch, looked really cool, but god damn it, that's a lame name.
That is so bad.
It's just like it just looks. Demon Slayer is based on a really popular anime manga,
right?
Some of these games, realistically, the only one of these games that I'll probably play is Moss Book 2. I love Moss. It's one of my favorite PSVR games. Deathloop looks kind of interesting. It's probably not a game that I'll get to. But other than that, man, this was just a waste of time.
It seems like it. Yeah.
From my perspective.
But Valve, maker of Half-Life and owner of Steam, the widely popular PC gaming store, has announced a handheld system machine for $399 with two more expensive SKUs. With more memory, meaning you would have to Steam on the go. That's a fun thing to say. When it's Steam and stream. The Steam Deck releases this December. That's cool.
This is wild.
This is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big blood. This just got announced either today or yesterday. That's why it made it in. Because we recorded late, and this was one of those things. This was going to be, but yeah, the Steam Deck, man, it's a $400 handheld gaming PC. Handheld gaming PC. Let me say that again. Handheld gaming PC.
$400
on the go. Your whole Steam library on the go. And so Steam, for people who don't know, is if you want to play games on PC, 99 out of 100 times you buy your games via Steam. It's the marketplace, much like the Xbox Store, PlayStation Network, or the Nintendo Store, or whatever. And so they were saying, they were showing that Jedi Fallen Order, the PS4, Xbox One game, was running perfectly on this. And I'll tell you, this is going to be a big problem for it. It's going to be a big problem for Nintendo.
Right.
Because, the Switch is buttressed by the fact that it has those first party games. But now, unless you're going specifically for Mario, Zelda, Animal Crossing, Pokemon, whatever, that's not really a viable option for you anymore, because now, and Steam sales are crazy. You can get games they give games away all the time on Steam. And so for this to be a thing, this is a huge deal. This is a huge deal, as opposed to the next thing, which is just going to be another flop. Another flop.
All right.
Flop it away.
Floppity flop. Well, all right. Something else I think might be a flop. Netflix is looking to get
this is what I mean.
Well, I thought you said okay. So I thought you meant that. I misheard you. I'm sorry. But anyhow, this is going to be a flop. Netflix is looking to get into streaming game wars. The streaming giant has hired former execs from EA and Oculus to bring the ability to stream from the Netflix app to smart TVs. This is not going to work.
Well, it's the same thing as the Amazon Luna and the Google Stadia.
Yeah. What do you think? I just don't understand what people are thinking. But I don't know.
There's not the internet is just not built for this right now.
No,
it's this is where gaming's heading. There's no doubt about it. And I understand the desire for like Google and Amazon and Netflix to try to get in on this, but like, it's just not there yet. There's no proof of concept for this yet. And
there will be at some point.
If you can download games, but are you going to download games on your Netflix account? Or are you just going to download them on Xbox, PC, or PlayStation? You know what I mean? Like, so that's, they have to figure out a way to make this, to like monetize this in a way to make that it makes sense. It just seems to me like it's probably super unlikely, and this is going to be doomed dead on arrival. That's just my guess.
You're 100% right. A Gran Turismo 7 beta has seemingly leaked.
So this was like, it's like somewhere like buried in the PlayStation Network somewhere where you can sign up for. It's not live yet, but they're prepping a site where you can sign up for the Gran Turismo 7. Gran Turismo is coming to PS4. I know that you were at excuse me, at one point mentioned that you were into racing games with the F1 thing, and so this might be something for you to look into. Gran Turismo is, of course, the creme de la creme of PlayStation racers. So not my speed, no pun intended. No. I just don't like racing games. But that's
each their own.
Teach their own, indeed.
And then a car game that isn't a racing game. It's about picking up hookers. It's the last I remember. Grand Theft Auto 6 is years away. Rockstar confirmed the game is in development, but in the very early stages.
Do you know when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out? 2013.
Did it really? 2013?
Yeah. It's a PS3 game. It came out on PS3.
That makes sense. Now I'm thinking about that. Doesn't make sense. And it's still years away. It's like, how hard is it to make a game where you just like pick up hookers and shoot people randomly?
The hard. September 17th, 2013, GTA 5. This is what you may not know as a casual guy, is that they have like an entire online GTA Online suite.
I know of that.
And it makes,
it's just like the key.
It makes
it's a lot
of money.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And Red Dead 2 took a really long time to make. And that's the other thing, is that like they have the GTA Online, they have the Red Dead Online. They don't have to make anything else because they're just raking in money through just those two services. And so is it a bummer? Like, I've seen like people speculate that the earliest date of GTA 6 is like 2025. That's crazy. It a bummer that it's going to take over a decade to get the next GTA game and then probably subsequently the next Red Dead game? Yes, it's a bummer, but those games, Red Dead Redemption 2 is perfect. It's a perfect game.
Right.
So I'd rather they make perfect games than half-ass games. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's just kind of that. But yeah, the big news here was the Steam Deck console. It's wild. It's wild.
I'm excited to see what happens.
They've been toying with the idea of that for a long time. Steam making a console, for them to make a handheld on the go thing at a pretty decent price point. I don't think $400 is exorbitant. There's a lot of people that PC players are it's a huge player base. It's bigger than PlayStation or Xbox. It just is. And the other thing is they have said that you can run other applications on this. So that I would imagine you would see like Game Pass and stuff like that make its way to this machine. So it's going to be like, this thing's going to be a big deal. This is nothing to sneeze at. Something to maybe sneeze at. Virgin Galactic billionaire Richard Branson's space vanity endeavor finally sent people into space on July 11th, and is the first person to fly to the outer edge of space in his own vehicle. The goal of Virgin Galactic is to send everyday billionaires with literally nothing left to do but spend money into space relatively soon and routinely. Branson has spent more than $1 billion on the publicly traded company in pursuit of this goal himself, but there's still no set timeline on when commercially available flights will be available. Your move, Mr. Musk.
The only reason I really brought this up, and I was gonna is why would anyone want to pay a lot of money
$250 million
to hang out with any of these people.
$250 million for
to hang out with Richard Branson or Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg. I pay me money to stay away from them. Unless they're going to give me money, I don't. And I mean, I do, I am a partial owner of Tesla, but this is insane to me. Like, this is a thing. And also, and I also wanted to bring this up for one other reason, is we have so much of the ocean to be terrified of and discover. And we're going out into space, just doing little flights. Let's go look at more translucent animals in the ocean here, kids. Let's not worry about going to flights and spending billions of dollars. Let's spend millions of dollars and scare you, Brenton, with translucent fish and sharks that have teeth that'll just rip your face off. That's more my thing. I'm more about what's here. I'm more about discovering. Amazon has so many critters that we don't even know about. The ocean has so many. Let's spend our money looking at critters on Earth that actually affect us, not out in space, Unless somebody finds Thanos out there, I don't really give a shit. Let's figure out what the hell's going on here. Figure that out. Because there's a lot of Earth that we still haven't figured out. And we're like, let's go to space. Let's just take a little trip to space. People are afraid to fly from Santa Barbara to Los Angeles, for Christ's sake. And they're like, let's fly into space. This is insane. And like, God, I wish I was a billionaire, because I would not be doing any of this.
Here's where we differ.
I would not be flying
to space.
space.
I agree on a lot of things.
We do. We disagree on a lot of things too.
We disagree on a few, but we agree on a lot of things. But this is where we differ. Number one, the thought of everyday people spending $250,000, $250,000. I said $250 million earlier. It's $250,000 for a ticket for a like edge of the atmosphere flight is preposterous. That's the first thing.
Right.
But if Elon Musk showed up at my door and said, "Get in, nerds, we're going to space," then guess what? I'm going to fucking space. I've said it.
I like Tesla. I like everything he does.
Here's where I'm at.
Want to hang out with him.
I want to hang.
He's a weird dude.
No, I would definitely want to hang out with Elon. If he said, "Hey, listen, we need for this, it's a one-way ticket to Mars, man. And we need a failed high school history teacher to go to document this in a failed high school history
Project Hail Mary.
One-way ticket. Shoot
I
me.
hope your family doesn't listen to this.
Shoot me to the red planet. Because then guess what happens? You're a fucking legend for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you are a legend
for the rest of eternity.
You are a legend of the game. That is true.
I had a conversation, one time this guy told me, he said, "Man, science is a motherfucker." And I said, "That's true, but if I'd be the first person on that rocket."
Science is a motherfucker. That is who told you that?
Somebody, a wise man. We'll just leave it there.
That is very true. Science is a motherfucker. That should be the name of this episode.
It might be.
Netflix's mega popular TV series adaptation of The Witcher, a Polish novel series that also spawned CD Projekt Red's game series of the same name, gets a release date for season 2 on December 17th, 2021. Henry Cavill's Geralt will return to the Geralt. I'm sorry. I thought I was going to go Geralt, and I was like, I don't know. We'll return to the small. Yeah, we'll return to the small screen.
I need to watch this. I've heard that I would like it.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to watch Millie Bobby Brown cry.
She's not in it.
I thought she was in The Witcher.
No, she's in Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, and that's with Henry Cavill.
That's with Henry Cavill. Yeah.
I get them confused.
No,
he's in
The Witcher
stuff.
And he's like, he does like bathtub scenes that are accurate from the games. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's.
I think things are going to get weird there.
He said that there will be no bathtub scene in season 2, but I think I probably need to check these out if I get time, which I won't. Yeah. So because I don't.
Same.
I'm the busiest person in the world that only works 22 hours a week. So
I'm busy and I work 50.
Yeah.
So it's tough. You're a parent though, so that's
Yeah. Well, and I spend a lot of time making you sound good.
That's true. You do spend a lot of time making me sound good. I also spent a lot of time making these sound good.
Right. Media recommendations.
I'll start off Fear Street. The first 2 movies are on Netflix. They're awesome. It's like based off the R.L. Stein stuff, but they're very spooky. They do a really good job playing into that whole horror like scene. And it's based on different years and they're going backwards. So it's 90s, 70s, and then 1666 is the one we're waiting on. Really just fun. If you like horror movies, you'll love this. You don't, but the general you, our listeners, the royal you, if you're in Australia, for our Australian listeners, if you can watch this there in Netflix, I'm not sure if you can. It's great. And then I watched The French Connection for the first in my life. That movie's awesome. I'm not saying anything new. That's just a really good movie. I'm the last person probably on the face of the earth that has seen that movie. It's great. Oh my God. It's so good. There's great car chase. It's a fun movie. It flies by. So French Connection, if you haven't seen it, just drop everything, watch it. I'm wrapping up The Secret History by Donna Tartt. It's a big book, and I don't have a lot of time. I try to read as much as I can on my days off, but I still love it. And I'll just say, when this comes out, Saw Rock by John Mayer will be out. It actually comes out in 3 minutes. I plan on making my dinner to it tonight while listening to it. So,
we're going to have a guest on next week to discuss that with you, because we found out.
Will it be Dallas?
We found out during the Olivia Rodrigo section that I'm not real good at faking it.
That's okay.
So we'll get somebody in here that you can actually have that conversation.
You should listen to Saw Rock, man. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be like 80s rock, but John Mayer.
Not my thing, but I'm glad you're gonna like it.
I'm gonna love it.
I haven't I've been a little bit under the weather this week, so I've been going to bed early, so I haven't been doing as much. Haven't been playing as much. Still working my way through Far Cry 4. I anticipate that I'm going to be done with it here in the next week or so. Watching the NBA Finals.
I should put that in there.
Obviously, focusing a lot of my attention on the Marvel rewatch. I mean, we had Black Widow this week. Obviously, we're both recommending that. Modest Mouse. I've been listening to the new Modest Mouse album that came out this year. I don't have a great feel for it yet because it's just been kind of like background noise for me. I'm going to actually have to like sit down and listen to it, but it's not bad. But I'm like halfway through Ultron with Ant-Man to go.
Nice.
We're going to record our phase 2 episode next week. It'll come out the following Tuesday, the 27th. So you can look forward to that. I'm getting to the point now where having like finished watching the movies, I can start like pouring into the research aspect of it. That's actually what I really enjoyed about the first episode the most, was just getting
the research was awesome. You did a great job.
Getting a lot of the nuts and bolts and things like that. I think that in there. So I'm looking forward to doing that as well with some of these other, movies, especially like Guardians and Ant-Man, that are a little bit, maybe, I don't know, lesser known, whatever. BXG podcast publishes every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time, 7 a.m. Hawaiian Time.
Aloha, and 2 a.m. Saturday Australian Time.
Oh. On podcast services around the globe, Spotify, Amazon, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, you name it, we're there. Social media at BXG Podcast on the Twitters and the Instagrams, at GTFills, at Y2P, Facebook.com/BXG Podcast, YouTube.com, search BXG Podcast, ring the bell, subscribe if you like the content.
Ring that bell.
The reviews, the discussions, the lengthy discussions, the Marvel stuff, the Star Wars stuff, some of the other stuff. I'm probably going to taper it back a little bit because like some of the stuff is so timely. And it's like, if I don't get it up there in time, it's kind of a waste. Probably just keep it with reviews and stuff like that for now. Or like if we do like the Free Britney stuff was kind of relevant and things like that. But I think the tournament style episode that we were on with Guillermo and Austin, like I said, we both had a lot of fun. Greg's hilarious. I am very dry as always.
Yeah.
It was I had a lot of fun doing it. I hope we're going to cross over with them again. We talked about something. I'm going to pitch that to them.
I got deep there for a moment in that show. So.
Right. Some would say as deep as the deep blue sea.
Yeah. You would.
Yes.
That's why he's the host, everyone.
Enjoy us over there on Tournament Style. Give those guys a listen. They're very funny. They're
good guys.
They're good guys and they're very funny. Tell your friends, tell your family.
Tell your mothers.
About the unmistakable.
And also Royal Caribbean. If you're looking for a trip. I can't think of a better thing to share memories with than a nice Royal Caribbean cruise. And they're offering a deal on their website. Check them out.
Full disclosure, Greg is a stockholder, Royal Caribbean Cruises. So we want to make sure that we're disclosing that for the FCC.
Yeah, for sure.
This was not a sponsored ad. It's just
not yet.
Right. The unmistakable essence of the BXG podcast. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for listening.